All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome. And I'm here with my friend Tom Forrest. And before I get started, I want to share a little background with him. Tom, how are you doing today?
Fantastic, Max. Always good to speak with you.
Good. Well, Tom and I have gotten to know each other. He's got a pretty incredible background of as a pilot in the note industry. So we're going to kind of share some insights with him. But Tom has been in the pilot world, recently retired. How long were you in the flying business, whether with the military and with the with the professional airlines?
Well, I started all the way back in 1981, Max. I was trained U.S. Air Force, flew T-39 Saberliners, and then on to the C-5 cargo jet. Got hired by American Airlines in '89, but I was also in the reserve, so I was flying for both the military and the airline at that time. And a year later, we got activated for Desert Storm, so suddenly I was back on active duty for another
Wow.
year. Uh, we got released the end of middle of 1991. I continued to fly both for the reserves and American until 1994, and then we moved the family to Dallas, which is American's headquarters. And I just wasn't up to going back to the East Coast to fly for the military and doing my stuff at American. And it was a good decision. That time with family is really important, and so I was glad I did that. Been in DFW for almost 30 years now, and like you said, I just retired back in June, just a couple of months ago. It's hard to believe it's already over. I mean, it seems so long out there, and of course it's mandated by the FAA. I don't have a choice. You have to go on the night before you turn 65. But I've enjoyed it. I've been well prepared for it, and we're looking forward to see what the future brings.
Good. Well, a lot of that future, I believe, is going to include the note industry.
A
Um,
whole lot of it.
So tell us a little bit about what made you kind of inspired you, because you have a lot of choices and what you could get involved in. What made you kind of lean towards the mortgage note industry?
Yeah, well, like most things, it's a really long story. But I've been an entrepreneur and real estate investor for a real long time. When we left the East Coast, I became a de facto landlord. It was one of those things where the house didn't sell, and we're like, we've got to go. And so I became a long distance landlord. And uh, I remember the first close to a year after we left, the neighbor called and said, your house is vacant. And I said, no, I didn't know that. The people had left in the middle of the winter without leaving the heat on or anything. And I'm like, great. And so fortunately, I had a layover in Philadelphia, and this is pre 9/11. So I brought a whole bag of tools and hammers and everything else, things you couldn't think of bringing now. And had a layover and went and fixed up the house a little bit, put it back on the market, and we got it sold. But it's everybody loves the landlording stuff until the real world hits you. But I became a de facto landlord. That was my first taste of it. I've done some since, but I've always had a plan B because I've got a couple of boys, got a daughter, and love to play sports. And if I get hit in the eye, my career's over. And so I always had a look into plan B in real estate, and the affiliated industries have really um, been something I've been interested in. Didn't really get back into it much until mid 2000s. I bought a lodge down at Lake Whitney with my son's hockey coach, which is about an hour and a half south of here. We built that up and ran it and put a restaurant on there. Very time consuming, but that turned out to be a good investment. I just got out of that a couple of years ago. Uh, Had a land development company that went to taking land and turning it into residential development. That was good too. Sold that off. Um, done a few other things that, like most folks, I've gotten into syndications, apartment, multifamily, things like that. Where in fact my son has a multifamily syndication, but in fact both my boys are real estate agents, very successful real estate agents. My wife's a real estate agent mainly so she can go out and look at flips and before anybody else can. My daughter is escrow officer at a title company here in South Lake, very high up. So I'm the only one who's not licensed, but we've always had our hand in everything, and we've had a degree of success in all of that. Um, have liked the flipping business. The syndications are nice, kind of put your money away. Although these days we're getting capital calls, and it's growth more than cash flow. So to kind of speed up to about 3 years ago, Max, right about this month, about 3 years ago, my wife and I just finished our last flip here in North Texas, and it was our most profitable flip ever. It was great. Those kind of deals, you've got to buy them right, and you've got to have a good market condition. And we saw that the writing was on the wall that that's not going to be the way it is going forward. And honestly, I was looking at our cash flow situation. And I didn't like where it was at. I mean, we had growth investments, but cash flow was just not there. I had a couple Airbnbs that I wasn't happy with. Those are time sucks. You need your cleaning crew to be good, and one bad review kills you. And it sounds good on paper, but I think everybody has an idea that if unless it's in a really good area with a really established support system there, it's really another grind, another job, just another version of being a landlord. And as I sail into retirement, I did not want to manage rental properties. It was just, I mean, I could have a handful of rentals, but as these Airbnbs demonstrated, you go on vacation, you're on a vacation, people are calling you. And we have one guest from hell who ruined a dinner we were having in Miami, just kept calling, and it's not my idea of retirement. So just out of sheer luck, I was listening to a podcast, and I like you, I listen to a lot of podcasts when I'm driving. It's a good time to take in education. And I happened to tune in a podcast that had a guest on named Eddie Speed, who runs Note School. I hadn't heard of Notes before in my life, and I just sat in and I like, man, where has this been all my life? This sounds exactly what I need. Cash flow that doesn't require me to be a landlord and secured by real estate. I've got to jump into this a little bit more, and I did. I jumped into it a lot more, and so I followed Eddie's education, got involved. I'm risk averse, very risk averse. I mean, we could talk about the stock market all day, and yesterday was a good day not to be in. I just don't like my stuff to chance. And so when I found out about notes, I was like, well, let's go and get the first one, see how it works. So I bought my first note, and it was a simple, and I don't know how much your audience knows about notes, but what we're doing is buying a payment stream. And essentially, rather than be the landlord and pay the bank for the mortgage, I am the bank. I own the mortgage. So the landlord pays me the mortgage payment every month. The landlord deals with all the problems. I get a check that comes into my account, either ACH or in my mailbox, and I don't deal with any of the problems. In fact, I have a servicer between myself and the borrower who handles all the issues. So I've got like 32, 33 notes, and none of my borrowers even know who I am, which is the way I like it. So um, anyway, so the first one worked. The checks came in, and I was like, well, let's see if we scale this. So I had a goal set to have a certain amount of cash flow by the time I retired, and I hit it. And I'm happy to say that it's more than what I need. I've hit that financial freedom number. In fact, that as you're leading to my book, that's kind of what I talk about is that this is cash flow that I don't have to worry about. It's a one-time transaction, and then the checks come in each month. It's not perfect. Every borrower has an issue here or there. They might be 45 days, late or something like that. But everybody wants to hang on to their house. So they eventually get back on track. And it has been as reliable and headache-free as I could ask for. So now my wife and I can go on vacations, and I come back, and the only thing that's happened is checks have hit my account versus, the property manager saying you got a roof to fix or you got a vacancy or things like that. It's the lack of stress that I really love about it.
Yeah, that sounds really good. So you've been in it for a couple of years now. What are some kind of, for people who are brand new to this, just give us your perspective. What are some things that you've noticed in the note market, recently, last year or so?
Yeah. So, yeah, a couple of years ago when I first got in, you would talk to people about notes, and they're like, "Well, that's fine, but I'm a wholesaler or I'm flipping and all that, and the money's great and the deals are there, and that's all great until the music stops." It's the same thing like when people talk about how much money they made in the stock market that last year. If it's okay if I digress a second about the stock market, and honestly, when I do presentations, I actually go out and I speak about notes to groups. I try to emphasize that I'm not bagging on other investments. I am diversified. I've got a small portion of my money in a stock market fund that somebody manages for me. I've got the syndications and things like that. But there are things that people might not realize. A lot of stuff sometimes you're getting sales pitched on, and the market can be a really tough place to make money. So when you get to my age, you get pitched for these dinners from financial advisors who say, "Hey, come on out, put your money with me. For 1%, I'll grow it for you." It grows on average about 10% a year. So I don't I don't go ahead and point it out to them, but I will point out to anybody who listens that if you put a ruler across the chart from 2000 to 2013, it took 13 years to get back to where it was. So if I was unfortunate enough to retire in 2000, Well, I've got to take out my 4% distribution plus my 1% financial advisor fee. That's 13 years of 5% hits just to get back to even. And now I'm 78 and I've got higher medical costs, insurance premiums and stuff like that. So this notion they talked to you about it increases 10% over time. That's true, but I think it's a young person's game. If you don't know what to do, you can put some money in the stock market and leave it alone. And then over time, let the law of averages work out. But when you get to my age, you may not have that 10%, you may not have that time for that to work out. So you need something that's a little more reliable. So when so the markets have changed a little bit now, and there's a whole lot involved in notes, not just the cash flow part. That's the cash flow is what I initially got involved in for. And in my book, I talk in the preface about my journey from not knowing anything about notes to sitting on an airplane 2 days after I retired, not worrying about money. And that's all driven by notes. That's just one aspect. With the uptick in foreclosures, we've got a kind of like an avalanche just kind of sitting there, the shadow inventory, I think Eddie talks about, because there was some manipulation of the markets during COVID time where people, could not be foreclosed on or not. And now things have started to escalate a little bit. And with the economy kind of, having a tough time, more people are having trouble making their mortgage payments. So we're seeing an uptick in foreclosures. If you're in the note business, if you've been in the wholesaling business or acquisitions business, understanding how to use non-performing notes where they're about to foreclose as a property acquisition strategy is something, that's very important. If you're a real estate agent, if you have an idea of how seller financing works and you can actually help somebody's problem because they're not getting as many offers as they used to, but there are tax advantages to seller financing. You could squeeze more juice out of every lead that you have. So it's very multifaceted. Plus, I also emphasize to folks that you don't need a lot of money to get started. There's leveraging techniques, partnerships, things like that allow you to do just about anything. Just about anything you could do with a piece of property, you can do with notes. And there's some things beyond that you can do. But in this market condition right now, people used to be able to make money other ways just by waking up in the morning and putting a property on the market. Now they're coming to notes and saying, "Hey, tell me more about that. Tell me how that works." And I'm more than happy to speak to them about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're ahead of the game on them for sure. So, what kind of folks do you work with directly? So, do you ever work with people on who participate in your deals, but they want to be more passive? And then, do you ever source notes directly from the person who originates them? Just speak a little bit to that if you want.
Sure, I've not. To be frank, most of the notes, in fact, just about every note that I have, except for two, have been sourced through the note school ecosphere.
Okay.
And when I talk about that lodge that I bought back in Lake Whitney back in 2005, I actually negotiated the note to buy that property. Commercial lodging is very hard to get a loan on, so we bought it from the seller. 15 years later, my partner still wants to stay there and live there and work there, and my wife and I have wanted out for a long time. So I actually negotiated the seller financing of my half of the property into a note. So that was kind of cool. Now that I'm retired, I have more time to be able to go into the other sources of notes. Buying it directly from a seller is something that I'm looking to do. In fact, with my boys in real estate right now, they're getting leads on investors who want to do that type of thing. So that's a knowledge and a skill set that I'm going to dive deeper into to help them in that area because it's very lucrative if you know what you're doing, helping people create notes on their own property, connecting them with people who can't get traditional financing is very rewarding. And as you know, Max, when you solve a problem and help people solve their problems, you're going to get paid. So that's something that I'm endeavoring to get into. Just kind of working my way into it. I've kind of like, all right, I bought a bunch of notes and I've got this cash flow. Where do I want to go next? As far as sourcing investors, I don't really discriminate when it comes to that. It's kind of like, if you hear my presentation and you've got, $10,000-$15,000 to start with or whatever, and you just want to dip your toe and maybe we can work out, a hypothecation, which is basically you loan some money to my company and get a good return and it's secured by a note. That might be one way to do it on a small basis. there are different ways to do that. We call it, you can sell part of a note. We call it selling a partial. I've done a couple of deals with note school students where they wanted to sock away some money, and get a good return, but didn't want to buy the whole note. So I sold them part of mine. And then if somebody sees this, or in a presentation or whatever, and they've got money and they say, "Hey, this sounds real good, Tom. I want to do what you did and buy notes and whatever." I'm happy to broker them to them as well, and guide them along the way. Because one thing, Max, is, and Eddie kind of laughs at me, is like, sometimes I need to know how everything's built before I do it. That's kind of my engineering nature. And so I understand when people want to be involved, I want to have the skill set to be able to make them feel comfortable, whatever their particular interest is in the note. So whether somebody has a small amount and just wants to, buy a small part of the payments off of the note, or whether they want to get in, full bore, I'm prepared to handle whatever they want. So it's not like I specialize.
Absolutely. Very cool. Well, and also you've mentioned the book a couple times, so I want to give you a big congrats on becoming a published author.
Well,
So
thanks for the help. I appreciate it.
oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's not something a lot of people do. So I want to ask, for people who have been kind of interested in this for themselves, how do you plan to, leverage your book to connect with more note sellers or, investors?
Well, I think it's what's the word? It gives credibility. It's a credibility authority piece to what we do. What I really appreciated, Max, was my ability to write the preface as well, because the preface of the book, I think, is the most powerful part. It's my why, it's my how, and I think the readers really will connect to the fact that, hey, this guy did this in 3 years. He's not anything special, and I admit that. I just followed a plan. I followed a checklist, and just had. Here's the big thing. There's so much education out there in all sorts of realms, but if you just get your education, then you put it on the back burner and don't do anything with it, it's just entertainment. Okay. And so I encourage people, dip your toe in, even if it's a very small note. Okay. But that preface really allowed me to, spill my guts on my story. And if anybody found that their Eddie Speed moment, like I had 3 years ago when Eddie's podcast. So I'm going to use the book in a wide range of ways, Max. I've already got a couple of speaking events, set up here in the next couple of months, and anybody wants to find out more information, if they, we do some training beyond the class, and if they sign up for the training, I'll give them a copy of the book so they can dive in and have more questions when they come to the training, so that they can understand this, kind of give them a heads up. It's also a door opener when it comes to wanting to book events. And I keep mentioning events. I just want to leverage my time properly. So I want to be able to, whether it's an online seminar, or going to an event where there's a lot of real estate investors, or a title company like I'm doing next month. It's an authority piece. It says, hey, this guy took the time to do this, and for these people, I give them a link to my online version, so they can sit there and actually see. I say, you see this preface? This is kind of what I'm going to talk about it. I'm just going to go into depth with a little more how to. So there's so many different ways that I can use the book, but it is a door opener to reach the people that I want to reach, and that's kind of the theme right there.
That's wonderful. Good. Well, you've been part of our program here for quite a bit. I think it was
Yes.
2021, and I know that you've explored and, various marketing strategies and programs, in your business career without, comparing necessarily. Can you share your, insights or a brief kind of review about, our program to help you, get your authorship out there?
Yeah, absolutely, Max. It's been incredible, and it's morphed in those 3 years. I bought all in, 3 years ago, and that was great. And it's interesting because what hooked me is that you knew Gene Garino from the RAL Academy, because that's where you started. And I had forgotten to mention, in the fog of all the things that I've done, is I've been in residential assisted living as well. We were at the 2018 convention, and then started in Dallas, and actually uh, uh, created an RAL home over by Midway and 635, and we're ready to go when COVID hit, and it sat empty for a year, and then we got it going, and COVID changed the dynamics a little bit. Well, fortunately, we were able to sell the place and make some money, but so I had that going on when I first started in notes and with the book. But beyond what the book does for me, that I just kind of expounded for you, is that you're not the kind of person just says, "Hey, here's a book, go and figure it out." The support you guys give us is incredible. We have biweekly meetups where we discuss what's working, and I will say you're probably the most giving person I've ever met of their time, dude. I don't know how you do it. You make money for your family. You've got 7 kids, and yet you're always around lifting everybody up and providing all the resources. I've learned a lot about AI and everything else now. So I mean, as far as coaches go, I can't think of anybody who's been a better coach than Max Keller, and that's all part of being the program. When I bought into the book program, I just didn't buy into getting a book. I bought into you, your support staff, and all the things that they do for us, and that's made me be able to take this thing and take it to the next level.
Well, good. Yeah. And we love working with people who take action and do things because, we always say the books don't pass themselves out.
That's right.
You have to do some stuff. We just try to put the odds in, your favor. So yeah, I appreciate that. It's been great getting to watch your journey, and the best is still yet to come. So as we're kind of wrapping up, if somebody wants to reach out to you for advice or a potential collaboration, what is the best
Sure.
way, for them to contact you?
Yeah, so Max, I created a site that is, I'm not selling anything on the site. Um, Part of the book, part of the whole thing is that when I found out about notes, it kind of changed my financial future. And I felt the need to kind of share that with people because, I could just say, hey, I've got mine and I'm done. But that's not the way I am. I'm very fortunate to have found you, Eddie, the whole note school ecosphere, and I want to pass it forward. So my website is noteclubusa.com. It's 3 words, noteclubusa.com. Don't sell anything there, but I have a lot of educational resources. If you like to read a copy of my book, it's right there. In fact, on the top fold of the homepage is a link to go ahead and click to it, and you can just flip through it online and see the kind of great work that Max and his team put together for me. Um, we have all sorts of. There's an education tab there that has videos and books, and then if you're intrigued about notes and want to go to the next level, there's a little link at the top that says free masterclass. You can sign up and see Max and Eddie talk about notes for 2 hours every other Wednesday for free. And if it doesn't, I think as Eddie says, if that doesn't get your wood wet or light your fire, then your wood's wet. Something I kind of trip that up. It's if that doesn't light your fire, your wood's wet. So, but yeah, there's a lot of resources on there, and you can actually email me from that site, or my email is tom@noclubusa.com. Real simple. So I'm always happy to talk with people. I've sent them towards the right resources, and got a newsletter that we can send them out, get them on our mailing list. And I just want the education out there. And then, whatever everybody's means are and what they want to get from notes, we have the ways to accommodate them.
Wonderful. Yeah, I think it can help a lot of people. And so that's going to kind of bring us to the end of today's episode. I want to thank our guest, Tom, for sharing your insights to this mortgage note industry that still a lot of people really don't know about. You
You're
saw
right.
strongly that, your journey and the strategies and kind of your market observations offer a lot of direction for people who are getting started and for seasoned investors who maybe they've done something else. And so,
Sure.
to all the listeners today, whether you're, just starting out, you're trying to refine your note investing approach, I hope that you found what we're talking about today really enlightening and, like Tom said, actionable. The world of mortgage notes offers unique opportunities, but it does require continuous learning. It does require adaptation. Not every market has the same opportunities in front of them. And I think one of the threads I got, Tom, from your information and knowledge today was that there was different opportunities at different stages of our life, whether
Hmm.
it's a market thing, whether it's just internal, at different ages we want to do different things, and that's okay. So, but there's a lot of wisdom in there. So, for everybody listening, if you enjoyed the episode, please don't forget, subscribe, leave a review. Your support obviously helps us continue to bring quality content and bring in our expert guests. And so, until next time, I want you to keep encouraging this fascinating world we call notes. And knowledge is truly power. So keep consuming that. And I think it's never too early or too late when you're hanging with the right people. And we're going to put all of Tom's info down below. So reach out to him. He is a absolute wealth of knowledge. And thanks for tuning in. And Tom, thanks for being with us. We appreciate you today.
Thanks for having me, Max. Always appreciate it.
All right, bye, everybody. We'll see you on the next episode. Take care.